evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, the future of the East Coast Main Line, an assault on Anlaby Road in Hull, and digging under the River Humber. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Jed Salisbury on bringing comedy to Cottingham, and before that, Jan Bracewell on traditional dancing in Beverley. Stagecoach's contract to run the East Coast Main Line Railway will end earlier than expected. Transport Secretary Chris Grayling said that the London to Edinburgh line will run for only a few more months. However, rail passengers have been assured that the Yorkshire and Lincolnshire lines will continue as normal and won't be affected. Mr. Grayling said that Stagecoach got the numbers wrong in its bid for the East Coast franchise and is now paying the price. He added that the government may step in to run the service. A 15-year-old girl has been assaulted on Anlaby Road in Hull. The incident happened at around 9:30 p.m. on Saturday. A man approached the girl from behind and demanded she hand over her phone. He then punched her in the face. She was taken to Hull Royal Infirmary for treatment. A man has been charged with assault occasioning actual bodily harm and has appeared at Hull Magistrates Court yesterday. And in more police news, Humberside Police are asking for help in tracing a man in Barton who claimed to be homeless. He was invited into a residence home after claiming he was homeless and cold. When the occupant of the house made him a cup of tea, he discovered that his wallet was missing. He challenged the visitor, who then fled the house. The incident happened on Finkel Lane at 9 o'clock yesterday morning. The suspect is described as white, in his 30s, of slim build with a shaved head and unshaven face. He wore a green combat trousers. Anyone with information is asked to ring Humberside Police on 101. The National Grid is unleashing a machine to tunnel beneath the River Humber. The machine will embark on a year-long journey from its site in Goxhill in the south to Poole on the north bank. The idea behind the project is to install a new 42-inch diameter gas pipeline. The existing pipe is in danger of being exposed due to shifting sands. This replacement project is designed to offer a long-term solution to the problem.
Bless this tunnel boring machine, whom we dedicate to the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God. Grant that all those who will use this equipment to improve our lives may recognise that you are wonderful in your works and may learn to carry out your will more readily in this service of the wider community. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
We like to do that at the start of the tunnelling phase. It keeps everybody safe, and it's a bit of a tradition to bless St Barbara, who's the patron saint of tunnelling and mining, and blessing that figurehead there is something that the guys like to do, because it's a bit of a tradition. So we've done that now. We've had the ceremony. We'll place St Barbara by the portal of the tunnel, and they'll be able to go past that every time and remember it. It's a vitally important project for the country. It provides 20% of UK gas on a peak day coming through this pipeline. We're going to build the tunnel and put the new pipeline in there to last for the next 40 plus years. So there's a massive investment for National Grid and for the UK. It's very important for the local area as well. We employ lots of local people. Nearly half of the people on this project are from the local area. So that provides them with employment, provides the businesses around here with the money that they spend then in that area. So it's great for the community. We want to be welcomed whilst we're here, not resented. And we're doing a great job of that at the moment. We're going into the people's schools, we're going into the community areas, and we're doing a lot of things with charities as well as part of being here. And we'll carry on doing that. We've got 3 more years to go, so we want to be welcomed by our presence.
The Lincolnshire Police and Crime Panel has agreed to support Mark Jones, the Lincolnshire Police and Crime Commissioner, in his proposal to increase the police's share of council tax by 5.8% for 2018 and 2019. The increase will provide the Commissioner with an additional £2.7 million to deliver his community safety, policing and criminal justice plan for the county. The additional funding comes as £5.3 million of reserves will be required to balance Lincolnshire Police's budget for 2018 and 19. Grimsby MP Melanie Onn asked a health minister in Parliament today about waiting times between referrals and treatments for patients in northern Lincolnshire hospitals. Ms Onn says patients in northern Lincolnshire are having to wait 3 weeks longer for an appointment than elsewhere. Stephen Barclay, a Minister of State at the Department for Health and Social Care, responded that the average waiting time was 9 weeks. He said that he recognised that some trusts face particular challenges with their waiting lists due to rising demand, and that a package of support, including a system-wide improvement board, had been established within the trust. Ms Onn disputed the minister's claim, saying that the House of Commons Library recorded an average wait of 32 weeks and that this was 6 weeks longer in 2017 than it was in 2016. The minister responded by repeating that there was an improved board established within the trust that is tasked with reducing waiting times. Currently, the average time waited is 11 weeks for outpatients and 7 weeks for inpatients. And meanwhile, Cleethorpes and Immingham MP Martin Vickers asked the minister to give assurances that the support the trust is receiving will continue. The minister gave no specific assurance about North Lincolnshire, but said that £1.6 billion was to be invested in accident and emergency nationally. The Hull Real Ale and Cider Festival is returning for its 40th year. The annual event sees 140 different cask ales on offer. The event also acts as a showcase for a variety of local beers and brewers. Bernie Court of the Hull and East Yorkshire branch of CAMRA says that ideas are afoot for marking 40 years' worth of local beer.
In itself, one of the main things that CAMRA do throughout the country, most branches have some sort of beer festival, some bigger than ours, some smaller than ours. Ours is aimed at about 140 cask beers, something like 35 cider perries and maybe 30 or so bottle beers and canned beers as it is now. It always is a showcase. What we try and do as well is we have, I think it's 14 local brewers. And what we do is we get them to come along with their wares. Usually we have about 3 beers from each of those. So there's a good percentage of local beers on. And we have some sort of themes. This year I think we're trying to get a few Scottish beers down, just to be something a little bit different. And as I said earlier, I think it's our 40th beer festival that this branch of CAMRA's held. 1 or 2 things in mind. We haven't quite decided what. We've had a couple of people come in and suggested things that they want to do a mural of the event or just take some videos of it. Some of the local brewers hopefully will be producing a 40th anniversary beer for us. So there's a few things in mind.
The Beverley Garland dancers are offering free taster sessions for anyone interested in joining. They're Morris dancing, and I'm joined now by Jan Bracewell to tell me more. Jan, many thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Very good to see you here.
And you.
Morris dancing in Beverley.
Yes.
Popular activity?
Yes, it's always very well received on our dance out days. We practice every Thursday at the King's Church on Swinemore Lane in Beverley, Thursday evenings. 7:45 to 9:45, and people are welcome to come along during February for free taster sessions to see what it's like, to see if they like it, and to meet people, keep fit and continue a culture that's been coming down the centuries, a couple of centuries really.
Longer than that, I think.
So yes, a really active, enjoyable event.
Should people get in touch in advance at all if they want to come and
No, they can just turn up, or they can find more information and contact details on our internet site, Beverley Garland Dancers, all one word, .co.uk.
And should they bring any special equipment like bells and ribbons? And
not necessarily, although we do dance with bells and sticks and garlands, but we actually provide all those, but they do need comfy shoes, trainers probably.
Now I notice I've come across Morris dances before, and it tends to be an all-male activity. So is it men and women welcome with the Garland dancers?
At the moment, we just have female dancers. I don't think we would turn away a male dancer. In fact, anyone who wants to come and enjoy the dancing is very welcome. It does make the
proposition rather more attractive, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But generally, we're a female dance troupe. We have male musicians and female musicians. We dance to live music every week, so it's a really good excuse to come along and dance to live music. And certainly they accompany us on our dance outs as well.
Now, you sound very expert and very veteran at this, but you, as one of these taster sessions, How did that hook you?
Yeah, so basically I'm one of the newer members. I've only been dancing for about 2 years. I joined the last lot of taster sessions. I turned up on the last night, not really knowing what I was letting myself in for, and felt very confused throughout the whole session, but exhilarated at the same time afterwards. And so I was hooked, and I've absolutely enjoyed it. Really, really good event.
I suppose when we've got lots of people engaged in a sort of common purpose, it's a great way of making friends. It's a very sociable thing.
It's very sociable. The people are really friendly, very supportive.
And very often Morris dancing happens close to pubs.
Yes, and certainly we have danced in pub gardens and enjoyed the hospitality there. We've danced obviously at the food festival, the Christmas festival, the folk festival in Beverley, Blessing of the Pumps in Brigg.
And just very quickly, what's the Blessing of the Pumps in Brigg?
So basically, Blessing of the Pumps is where the water coming into the village and out of the village has been blessed for, I think, over 100 years. Obviously, when they got the wells, that was quite something for the village, and they continue that tradition of blessing the water as it comes in and out of the village.
Yeah, nice little ritual we're going to have to pursue. I take it you've got a full schedule for the summer?
Definitely, yes.
So you'll be dancing all over Yorkshire, even a bit of Lincolnshire. Yeah. And just tell me again where it is you meet and when for these taster sessions? So
it's King's Church Hall next to Aldi in Beverley, Swinemore Lane, but they can get more details on our website, and everyone welcome.
Jan, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks.
Join me after the break. Jack will bring us a roundup of the latest sports news from our region, and Jed Salisbury will be here on bringing comedy to Cottingham. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Jack brings us a roundup of the sports news in our region, and I'll be talking to Jed Salisbury about comedy in Cottingham. Fewer patients are facing delays at Hull Royal's A&E department thanks to Operation Wintergreen. The operation was launched last Monday to reduce waiting times. A week later, 87% of patients were seen within 4 hours compared to 83% the week before. 85 fewer patients were seen in 4 hours or more. Operation Wintergreen saw staff diverted from their regular duties to deal with frontline tasks. 600 routine operations and outpatient appointments were cancelled to allow staff to deal with patients who needed emergency care the most. The Member of Parliament for Beverley and Holderness, Graham Stewart, says he's pleased that what he calls substantial progress is being made to improve flood defences along the Withensea coastline. Following a meeting with senior planning officers at East Riding Council, Mr Stewart has welcomed plans for an extended barrier of rock armour at the southern end of the town. Withensea is on the Holderness coastline with some of the fastest erosion in Europe. Councillors are now planning to extend coastal defences within 100 metres of the end of the chalets at the southern end of town. They're now looking for funding for the project. The organisers of the Tour de Yorkshire are calling on volunteers to help with this year's event. 1,800 tour makers are required to help put on the race. The record number of volunteers are needed because of the event's growth. The volunteers will provide a warm welcome to visitors and act as a point of contact for logistical queries. If interested, please volunteer by the 23rd of February. The tour takes place this year from the 3rd to the 6th of May, and I'm sure the Tour de Yorkshire has a website you can look at. A father and daughter have donated £2,500 to St Andrew's Hospice in Grimsby. Carl and Annie Henry raised the money through a pair of running events. A keen runner, Carl completed the 26.2-mile Snowdonia Marathon late last year, before 8-year-old daughter Annie took on a 3-mile pyjama run around Cleethorpes Country Park. The money Carl and Annie raised will go towards the hospice's costs of £4.8 million per year, most of which the organisation has to fund itself. Stand-up comedy comes to Cottingham tomorrow, and to tell me more about it is Jed Salisbury. Jed, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in. Very well, thank you. What's going on specifically tomorrow?
Tomorrow night we have the fantastic Chris Washington, who's just got off to tour supporting Jason Manford. So we've been running the event for over a year now. and it's becoming quite the talk of the city, well, the talk of the village.
The biggest village in England, as I'm frequently reminded.
Yeah, and we've got the best comedy club in the biggest village.
Now, this is, you say it's a regular thing. It's not just once a year. It's every month. You have something.
Every month, the first Wednesday of every month, we have a pro night where it's more established acts, and every third Sunday of the month, we have a thing called Laughter Tracks, which will show guys starting out on stage time, offering them the progression they need to make it to the top.
Okay, so that's a bit of an empty mic thing, is it?
Yeah, it's an open mic thing.
Open mic thing, not empty mic. Sorry, that would be terrible. And where does this all happen?
It happens at the Railway in Cottingham, just by the railway tracks. It's a lovely little pub.
And do people need to book in advance if they want to come?
You can book tickets in advance. It is always cheaper to book in advance. It's £8 from her Hull box office or £10 on the door. But no one ever booked in advance, we found out, and we have heart attacks of panic on the door. It's very scary stuff.
I guess it's a sort of spontaneous thing, isn't it, going out for a night of comedy?
I think it's a risk people often hum and har about, because most people's experience of live comedy is television, and we like to offer the friendly atmosphere. We like people to come down, have a good time. We're a very, very pro-friendly audience. In fact, we'd say we sell ourselves on the environment. We have regulars now that come every month, and they just enjoy it.
Well, I know from experience, stand-up comedy is far better if you're in the room.
Yeah, there's nothing beats live comedy. No. That's what I find. Also, it really helps me, because if no one comes to live comedy, it's just me in a room talking to myself, and that's never as fun as I think.
Well, as long as you make yourself laugh, Jed.
Sometimes. That's how it goes, Hugh.
You've got this thing. It's going. You've got a schedule of things coming up. So that's once a month with the professionals who are just coming up through their careers, I suppose. But of course, Cottingham is on the way to Edinburgh.
It is. What we have got is ourselves on the Laughter Tracks. We are done in the last hour to Edinburgh acts coming through. So you're going to see some top acts previewing their Edinburgh shows that they hope to take up to Edinburgh and win some national awards.
So you've got people who we might be hearing from much more in the years to come.
Yeah, we've got the guys who are about to just be breaking through onto television, the all-stars sort of thing themselves. And there's two guys that regularly host it, one myself and the other being Rich Austin, who co-started the event with me, and it's been very successful. We're very proud of the club we've established.
And some of the pros, they're the supporting acts for the big names that have already come through.
Yeah, we've had acts that have been supported, Rob Brydon and stuff like this. So even if you've not recognised the name, it's always worth coming down to take the punt, as they are an outstanding act, and you'll find your next favourite act.
Oh, and if they're no good, then that's how they find out they're no good, and that's how the audience wastes no
we've
time in telling them.
We've never had a bad act on our pro night yet. That is how it goes. We handpick them ourselves, and these are acts that we love and that are absolutely brilliant, and they're going to be the next big thing.
You said that you and your colleague host it. Is this the usual format where you come on and you do a segment
we do the host. So I bring on the acts, I warm up the audience. I've been performing for 8 years now, so I'm very established myself. And we just go out there, we have fun. Sometimes we're a bit rude, sometimes we're a bit playful, but it's all part of the friendly atmosphere.
Well, it's probably emphasise that stand-up tradition is probably not for children.
No, it's not for children. It is an adult. It is a 16+ event. But I also do a kids show. Come down to that. It's Jeddy Bear's Picnic.
Okay. Do you get heckling? That's also part of the great tradition, isn't it?
Never negative. I think most people start comedy, they're scared of hecklers, but it's never negative. People just want to be involved, and I'm to the point now where I know how to handle the audiences. We work with the heckles. We can, we've never had to kick anyone out for being mean or anything. It's very friendly.
And that open mic thing, what would be your advice to anybody who thinks they've got a joke to crack?
Crack it. Honestly, I'd say your first 50 gigs is just you creating bravery to stand on there. It takes a brave man to stand on stage. And even if you don't think you're funny, that's fine. I'm not even the funniest one of my friends, and I still get out there and make people laugh.
Remind us where it is, the Railway in Cottingham.
The Railway in Cottingham, first Wednesday of the month. There is an event tomorrow with a fantastic Chris Washington. Doors are 7:30, shows at 8 o'clock.
Jed, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you very much, Hugh. See you, dude.
Here's Chat with the Sports.
We'll start with football, and after Hull City's defeat to Preston North End on Saturday, the Tigers find themselves in the relegation zone. City haven't won any of their last 9 matches in the Championship, a run which has led to their slide down the table and into the bottom 3. Hull haven't recorded a league win since the 3-2 victory over Brentford back on the 9th of December. Despite this, head coach Nigel Adkins has tried to rally his players. He said, "We're in a situation where we're up against it, so do we throw the towel in now or do we keep fighting? We keep fighting. We've got to keep fighting for each other. He went on to say, going into the bottom three doesn't change anything. It probably just makes it more challenging from the outside influences that go on. On to League One now, and Scunthorpe United had a much better weekend as they won 3-2 at Fleetwood Town. That win maintained United's fourth position in the table, and they might start looking up at the teams above them as they target those automatic promotion spots. Scunthorpe's assistant manager, Neil MacDonald, was pleased with the performance on Saturday. He said, scoring 3 good goals away from home shows the intent the team has, wanting to play on the front foot and wanting to play attacking football. We scored 3, which was excellent, and we opened them up with ease. He added, if we keep doing that and be more clinical, we'll win lots of games. In League 2, Grimsby Town's long wait for a league win continued over the weekend as they were held to a 1-1 draw at home to Cheltenham Town. Striker Simeon Jackson scored just 3 minutes into his Mariners debut, and it looked as if Town were about to seal a first win in 11 matches. However, they had to settle for a point after conceding with just 13 minutes to go. Manager Russell Slade gave his reaction after the game. He said, when you get that first goal, you want to kick on and go and get that second. It's exactly what we talked about at half-time. I felt that if we could have done that, we could have put the game beyond them. It wasn't like we weren't searching for it. We were, and we looked to fret. We looked to fret down the left-hand side, but we couldn't quite get that second goal. And finally, Hull FC's players are getting used to the conditions in Australia as they can prepare to make history this weekend. The Black and Whites take on Wigan Warriors on Saturday in the first Super League match to take place outside of Europe. The squad have been conducting various training sessions in temperatures hitting the late 20s in New South Wales. Ahead of the historic clash, Hull have based themselves in a small seaside town called Kiara, which is around 2 hours from Sydney. They should approach the game in confidence, though, fresh on the back of their opening day victory over Huddersfield Giants last Thursday. The game will be played at the Wynn Stadium in Wollongong, New South Wales. It's an early start for FC fans, though, as kick-off is at 8:45 a.m. UK time. That's all for the sport. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Jack. That's all the time we have tonight, I'm afraid. If you have a story for us, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages, email news at estuary.tv, or phone Grimsby 01472315553 as indicated below. Or you can write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN35 5BQ. Until tomorrow, good evening.